Hello, Internet. It is me again, Zach, aka your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So, I wanted to do a video today talking to you guys about something that a lot of people ask us questions about. About 50% of our customers order off our website or just message us through Facebook, that kind of deal. So we end up shipping out a lot of our wheel lifts. Only about 50% come in here and get them installed, which is fine. It's great. But for those of you that don't know how to do an install or have us install it and you want to know the process of it, I wanted to kind of break that down with you today. So today we have Anthony's truck here. We got an F350 Super Duty with a Power Stroke motor in it. So I'm going to kind of go over with you from start to finish how we go about doing that. So let's go ahead and jump into this and see where we end up. So like I said, we've got Anthony's truck here, this F350. I want to let you guys know now that we are a little bit more than halfway done with this lift. So Anthony's getting a Bigg Chief put on. So the first thing that we do is as soon as the truck comes in, we got to disconnect the batteries. I know these batteries are connected, it's because we had to pull it forward, but this one's a diesel, so this one has 2 batteries. All right, so got to disconnect the batteries. If you do not disconnect the batteries, you risk frying your computer. There's a lot of electrical stuff that can go wrong. We end up welding on the truck, so got to make sure the power is disconnected. Once we get the battery disconnected, we immediately move right into disassembly of the truck. So obviously, as you can see, we've got a lot disassembled here. This Anthony's lift, being halfway done, still has some disassembly stuff on it. So the first thing that our fabricators and welders and installers do is we take the bumper off the bumper mounts, and then they go right underneath the truck, and they come up into here, up into this space right here, and this is where your spare tire and your spare tire mount is. So they take that out, remove the spare tire. Now, this one's a Ford, so this one had to get a little bit of custom work done. So we had to take off the driver's side shock and build a custom shock mount, which is that piece up there for the truck. So we take the shock off, build the shock mount, put it on there, and then reinstall the shock on there. So that's the next step in the framing. After they've got all that stuff done and everything taken out and everything disassembled, we can start installing the frame. So this is our light frame and our heavy frame. If you bought a lift off of us, you'll notice they come in 2 separate pieces. So the light frame the heavy frame back here, we actually make out of 3/8 steel. So that's the biggest one of all of our competitors. The reason being is because as you try to lift a little bit heavier of a vehicle, this frame wants to twist backwards, right? So we make it out of heavier steel, a little thicker steel, so that way it stops it from trying to rotate as the lift is picking up a vehicle. So these here are our frame mounts. You've got one on each side. There's one over there as well, and then there's one down there, right there. So what we typically do is we weld them into the frame. If you've read our instruction manual, it says you can weld or bolt them. We prefer to weld them in. If for any reason the customer may want them bolted, we make sure that we use grade 8 1/2-inch bolts to mount here. Sorry, camera's trying to focus, but I keep moving it. So yeah, so we've got grade 8 bolts here, and then we weld the frame mount up here to the frame. Now, at this point, we would also do frame reinforcement if the customer wanted it. For this particular truck, they didn't want it. They also don't need it. We let them know that initially, like, hey, you're not going to need a frame reinforcement. There's really no reason to charge for it if they don't need it or if they don't want it, so we didn't do it. So before we go welding on everything, we obviously want to make sure that the lift is center with the truck. You want to make sure it's all straight and square. That way, when you go to lift something up, it doesn't tilt your truck sideways. So we make sure that this right here, sorry, there's not great lighting over here. But yeah, so we square it all off, make sure this is straight. And the same amount of distance is here as there is on that side. And then we make sure it's square front and back, so that way you get clean pickup every single time and you don't have to worry about having any damage done to your truck, to your wheel lift, or the vehicle that you're lifting. So after we've got the light frame and the heavy frame all squared up and everything put back together, we go ahead and throw the bumper mounts back on, and then we move into adding our tubes. So we've got our main tube, our middle tube, and our inner tube here. Now, we, on our main tube, use 3/8 steel. The reason why is a lot of our competitors are using 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, that sort of thing. So we don't like that because it's just not as strong. So all of our steel is made in the USA, and it's 3/8 thick. That way, when you do go to lift those heavier vehicles, you don't have to worry about things cracking or breaking and anything like that. So we go ahead and we install the main tube, just lifting it up in there. Usually we use a car jack and roll it in just to make sure it's a little bit easier. And then right over here, we install our main pin. So we put our main pin through the tubes down there on the bottom. Once again, I know it's kind of difficult to see, but we put our main tubes in down there. We move the light a little bit. Main pin goes through there, through the main tube, and then we've got a bolt that we also add on. That way it makes sure it doesn't spin. It's not going to walk its way out. We've heard of other guys, horror stories of other guys having our competitors' lifts, and the pin walks out while they're towing something. They drop the whole lift, and it rolls into someone's house. So that's happened before with one of our competitors' lift, but don't worry, that guy came to us and he got set up with a Bigg Chief, and he's extremely happy. So that's our main tube. Then underneath our main tube here, we also had a Class 3 Reese hitch receiver because we understand the importance of adding a trailer or anything like that to it. So we've got that, lots of attachment points for chains and things. With the Bigg Chief, you get your chain boxes added on with little Wrecker Central Bigg Chief plate added on. This is actually where we install our LED lights. So these lights are set up so you can turn them on at night to hook up to a car that you might not be able to see, you know, with your brake lights. You don't have to install your own lights. We do all that stuff for you. So we wire that up to a switch and get that up into the cab. Once we've got the main tubes installed in the frame, then we go ahead and hook up this cylinder here. So this cylinder is what gives your lift the up and down power. So it attaches up there to the top of the heavy frame and down here on your main tube. So when you hit up and down, this is what's moving in and out to raise and lower your lift. Then, once we get to the point where it's time to start installing the in and out and the open and close tube, we have a hose reel that sits right here on this hose reel mount. We use Reelcraft hose reels, so, you know, only the best. And then the head is going to attach right here where this oilite bronze bushing is. So the bronze bushing is super important. It's actually impregnated with oil. Keep in mind, it still does need grease, so we always recommend to grease this. This is definitely one of the pivot points that's going to keep your warranty intact. But the bronze bushing is going to help stop seizing. It's going to stop your lift from wearing down. It's easily replaceable by us, so if anything were to happen, we can swap it out for another one. But this is the best of the best. This was an idea that we came up with, and everyone else likes to say they did it and they came up with the idea and stole it. But we know for a fact we've been doing this for well over 10 years, so you heard it here first, folks. Bronze bushings are the way to go.